Welcome to the Heroic Varimathras guide. Super easy fight, so let's go ahead and start with Talons. When I say easy fight, I mean from a tank perspective. For this fight, I ran with Abyssal Strike. You might be able to get away with Razor Spikes in this. I never tried it, I probably won't. Fallout, Flame Crash, Fracture, Concentrated Sigils, Spirit Bomb, and Last Resort. If you know your off tank will taunt right away as soon as possible, then I would run with Soul Barrier instead of Last Resort. Last Resort's great if he's 2 seconds behind on his taunt and he doesn't taunt, then you're gonna die every time. But if you know your off tank will taunt, then run Soul Barrier because it's actually better. And that's it for talents. Gear. I used DPS gear, because the only time you're going to die is if you have misery and you're getting hit. So for legendaries, I used Archimonde's Hatred Reborn. I used the belt, I believe. Synodaria. Yeah, if you have the new legendary Crucible Ring, you can use that as well. I have a terrible Torment 2 trait, so I'm not using it right now, but I will when I replace my Iron Relic. I also used, trying to remember, the Vial is a single target fight, so I used a 930 Vial of Ceaseless Toxins. Where's it at? Oh, there it is. So Vial of Ceaseless Toxins, really great for single target damage. Now, if you do need the survivability, don't use the pants unless you have nothing better, because you have enough demon spikes to have it up the entire time you're tanking, and you have enough empower wards for every shadow strike, so pants are a waste. You could use Archimondes, you could use, let me pop up the loot here. Pridus could be pretty decent, not great but decent. Cloak could be mediocre. I used the belt for damage. Pants are not that good. Boots aren't that good. Really, that's it. Yeah, you're only tanking half the time in short bursts, so I wouldn't recommend really anything else here. And consumables, I would say Agility Flask. Unless you're going to get one shot, then use Stamina. I used Agility Food, and I used an Augment Rune and a Potion of Old War. And that's it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the guide. So here is Heroic Varimathras. This fight is extremely boring for a tank. It is taunt when the other tank gets hit, and DPS. There really is nothing else to do here. So I'm going to start it. I'm going to show you the proper positioning because that is key. And then I'm going to talk about the rest of the fight because there's really nothing else to talk about. So when we run in, get stay within 8 yards of everybody. And then we're going to position him. Let me get a good angle here so I can show you. Okay, that's good enough. Alright. So basically, there is a debuff, well, an attack that he does. If at any point you're not within at least 8 yards of somebody else, he does an ability called Alone in the Darkness, where he'll hit you for shadow damage and give you misery because it's shadow damage. And misery prevents all healing to you for things like 6 seconds. So it's bad. So the key here is to position yourself 8 yards away from your co-tank and face him away from everybody else. And the reasoning for this is Shadow Strike is a shadow damage cone. So we only want one tank to get hit by it because then the other tank won't have the debuff. So right now this is proper positioning, and it's easy to do because all you have to do is stand in the boss's hitbox and at a different angle so it only hits one person. So this is all you got to do. So here's Shadow Strike. You can have Empower Wards up for everyone, and then the off tank instantly taunts. If Varimathras swings a second time afterwards, you're probably dead. Is that tight. So your off tank has to be key and pro at taunting instantly, or it's over. And that's it. There are some torments to talk about. There is Torment of Fire, which I currently have. You can see the debuff over here. All that is a low damage magic, well, it's fire damage debuff. So every X number of seconds it takes for 250,000 damage. That's it. There's a Torment of Fell, which I don't know what it does, because it barely even touched me this entire fight. It was inconsequential. And there's the Torment of Frost, which if it's on you, it makes you run slower. But again, we're not running anywhere because we don't ever move, so it doesn't matter. So as a tank, all you gotta do is keep this proper positioning and taunt and cooldown, and then your job's done. So this all it is now is a DPS race. And I even use DPS legendaries here because if you don't get killed by his Shadow Strike, you don't die. Assuming you're off tank taunts. The other abilities that we can talk about because we have time now. There is a Dark Fissure, which is a giant shadow damage circle on the ground. So to mitigate this, you have everybody stack up, like you see here. So when he casts fissures, it lands underneath everybody, and then they just rotate to the side, which you'll see here in 2 seconds. So incoming Dark Fissures, there it is. They just move, and then they stay there. Then there is an attack. I can't remember the name of it right now, but you'll put a debuff on somebody, and then he will charge. His shadow will charge that person, and in a straight line. And if he hits anybody else in front of that person is knocked back. Or let me rephrase this: the first person he hits gets knocked back. So ideally, to handle this, you want a rogue or something with a gap closer. So if he hits a rogue and knocks him back, and you can make that happen every time. Right, there's the arrow right here. So if a rogue stands first person in front of it, gets knocked back, he just shadow steps right back to the boss. And that prevents the alone in the dark damage. The other debuff here that might wipe you, and it wiped us twice because it was super late when we got here, was Necrotic Embrace. It's a debuff that goes on somebody for, I think it's 10 seconds. At the end of 10 seconds, it will explode and then jump to anybody within 10 yards. Which means that if you're in the middle of 5 people, it explodes. 5 people now have the debuff and now have misery, and it's almost instant wipe every time. People just die. So to handle this, whoever gets the Necrotic Embrace just runs away from everybody, explodes, comes back in. Now, you might need to use a cooldown when you do that, simply because when you run out, you're going to get alone in the darkness and get hit by that. So that's it. There really is nothing else here. Use Empower Wards on every Shadow Strike, mass DPS, instantly taunt. Because he's going to cast Shadow Strike now. Watch how fast I taunt. There it is, and you instantly taunt. If you do that, you really can't die as a tank here. And this is mainly all physical damage, so as long as you keep up demon spikes while tanking, you should be fine. And that will conclude Heroic Varimathras. If you have any questions, please let me know. Leave them in the comment and I'll answer them. Thanks for watching.